Hi, everybody. Hi, we're from Rentlord. We are a startup based in the UK, and we've been using adaptive payments for a year now, since last year's Innovate 09. My name is Colin, and this is Cheong. Today, we're going to share with you some of our experiences in building a new generation type of social commerce platform. It's in the rentals industry, and more specifically, it's in the property, real estate industry. We're going to present some ideas on how, and sort of abstract and generalize on how, some ideas that we've been using could possibly be implemented in your apps or could be on the horizons in the near future. So we're calling this we're titling this e-commerce of the near future. Our mission is to democratize rents, and in the UK, we mean long-term, short-term, sublet, couch surfing. There are lots and lots of people in the UK, especially young people, moving out from home, 20 years old or 19 years old. They want to share flats, they want to couch surf. And at the moment, it's really difficult for renters to share a flat. It's expensive to get a real estate agent if you're 21 years old or 22 years old. And there's just not a very easy online way of renting out a property. We really were very puzzled by this, when we started living in London. I mean, so much of what we can do, in the old days, before the internet, can be done online now. You can buy, second-hand stuff online. There's eBay. You can buy airline tickets. You can book hotel rooms. But one thing that was so critical, so central to our lives, renting, just couldn't be done online. There are 150 million renters in the UK and the US alone. So this is a really large market, or rather, it's a really large community of people who share the same problems, with one another, And it's a very cyclical lifestyle. You go from one contract to the next. It's highly predictable because you know when you're going to move next. It seems really ripe as a market that you could disrupt with the internet. And here are the real-life pains. First of all, you're hit with high costs, both tenants and landlords. Middlemen in this arena generally fall into estate agents who find you the property and property management agents who manage the property for the lifetime of the let. Even property management is a kind of a luxury, at least in the UK. You get 10%, 15% of rent, and if you've got a mortgage yourself to cover, because say if you're a landlord and you need to travel to another part of the country, it's just really expensive. It seems like the whole industry, runs on a form of information asymmetry and a kind of resource asymmetry. It is here that Rentlord, seeks to step in, as we'll show. You get security and online scams because for most of us who don't want to go the expensive route, we go the Craigslist, Gumtree route, the classified ads route. Classified ads in newspaper. I mean, I'm sure all this sounds really, really familiar to you. You then get the other problem of fake ads, scammers, people who say that a very popular scam in the UK is, I'm a landlord, but I happen to be in Italy right now. If you want to see this great property of mine, which is, priced at a great price, you'll have to pay me, £500. Through MoneyGram or Western Union or even PayPal. So many people do fall for this because, in large cities, which is really very dense and, property is scarce, people would just try what they can to get a good deal. And there's a lot of non-transparency in the sector as well. In this case, most of it revolves around the security deposit. As you might know, you get slapped with some hefty fee at the end of your tenancy. There was a leak. It wasn't fixed. It should have been fixed by the landlord. It wasn't. You lived with it. 6 months later, the leak becomes flaking walls. And there goes another 200, 300 to get it fixed. So finding, contracting, and managing seems to be what would be central for an app in the real estate industry if one were to be developed, to sort of bring together, to pull together as a one-stop application or portal. And this would be, we discovered, best done in a P2P social-powered market. And the idea is to put the market, the users, the live contracts, and the payment platform on the same level. So you could set up a contract with something that looks like this. It's a really, it's a really easy to use pop-up, and you just key in the address of the home that you're managing or the home that you want to move into. You select the contract type, key in the parties involved, key in the rent per month, the deposit, and you go to checkout. The main idea here is that the contract sits live on the platform. The contract sits live, which means that now not only could you manage the rents in a very easy-to-use, super simple kind of interface. You drop it down, you can manage multiple properties. Professionals could use this. You just click Pay Now, and it jumps you right into PayPal. As a business model, adaptive payments really opened up for us this new revenue stream, recurring income, recurring payments. It's really easy to use, really easy for the users to use, and to pay with credit card or debit card. And it also, we discovered, opens up more interesting and exciting possibilities, which perhaps for the social commerce sector would be relevant. The first thing is that because the whole market, all the users, all the contracts sit online and on board Rentlord, the first thing is that you can get trusted individuals to rent from you. This is really relevant if you're 21 years old, you want to sublet part of your property, you've rented out the whole 2-bed flat, you want to rent out an extra room, and through your social graph, you would be able to find users who might be interested, trusted users along the social graph who would be interested in sharing the same space with you. You can be matched by price, you can be matched by friends of friends, and so on and so forth, geography. So it's a new form of search. It's a new parameter of search in the real estate world, and real estate online space, which has been so far confined to mainly, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, in what location. So this is, of course, the most obvious thing that we found you could do, searching by friends. And this is really relevant in renting because a lot of renting is based on trust. You want to rent with and rent to people that you really trust, people who have a good history, a good reference, a good credit record, and so forth. So all this can be reflected now on a very open marketplace where users can know one another and can know more about the item, the commodity that is to be leased. The second thing is that we found that you can now match future available buyers with future available items. And again, this is through the social graph. It's a future buying. We call it the future market. This is quite interesting because in the old days, when you know what the drill is. You move in, you rent a home, you move in, you live there for 6 months or 1 year, and kind of about 3 months towards the end of your stay, you know the stress begins to build up, the anxiety begins to build up. 2 months before the end of the stay, you create a listing on Craigslist, or you go see a real estate agent. Hopefully 1 month or at least 3 weeks before the end, you would have found a new home, you would have contracted, and so on and so forth. And then comes the whole hassle of the move, and then comes the migration of your utility suppliers from one address to the next. Now, the idea here is that you can plan all that in advance. Again, in a recurring income, recurring payments type of model like rents, this is quite relevant. I mean, I sort of see applications like this in other forms of rent. You could chain contracts. You could chain buyers up, one after another. And really, it's because it's so predictable. Renting itself is so predictable. It's in the contract. Once the contract sits online, sits on board your application, you match the contract with the social, the people, and you match the people with the items. This is the main thrust of what we have to share with you today. It could be used in other types of applications. There was someone that we know is a librarian for a school, for example, and school libraries have a limited budget, for example, and it would be a great means for libraries to do interloaning to one another. So there are possibilities here, which hopefully inspires you and gives you some ideas yourself. This is how our interface would look like. We've mocked it up here. It's a future market, suggested next home, suggested next tenant. And it just commoditizes and makes it really, really easy, really relevant to buy, to rent in the future. So this is a big win, because now when the future vacancy is published and publicized, it probably means no vacancy for landlords. It probably means no turnaround time for both landlords and tenants. And the promise of this is a form of continuous buying. So now we'll talk a little more now about how PayPal has come in to help disrupt the real estate industry. In the old way, payment processing was a very serial kind of activity. The payment goes in from the tenants into the management company and then out again on the other side to the landlords. What can be done now through adaptive payments is that through the form of a split payment, the payments actually split securely at the point of payment. I'll hand over to Cheong now, and he'll explain to you how we've implemented this technically.
All right. Rentlord adaptive payment allows us to do what we call a parallel payment. So in this example, you can see the sender makes a single payment of $100 to two receivers via Rentlord.com. Okay, this can be your site, a merchant site, or whatever site that it's doing a transaction. Okay, it goes into the API server and it splits out into $99 for the landlord, and $1 for the landlord, which is us, the commission. So in just one single payment, it is split up into two parallel payments. Okay, it used to be we need a one-to-one payment, but now we can have a one-to-many payments, up to a maximum of 6 receivers. Okay, so PayPal API is very adaptive in that sense. Okay. All right, more about the technical implementations. This shows the approval and the API calls. Okay, the user through Rentlord.com will make a pay request and make an API call to the PayPal API server, which will return an API key back to the Rentlord.com application. And that redirects the user for approval process in the PayPal website. So the sender will log in via his password and email address. And once approval is confirmed, it will be returned back to the site. Okay, so a few snippets of code, 8 lines of code. So you can see the portions in red clearly highlights the different receivers, receiver 1 and receiver 0. In this case, there are 2 receivers. Okay, receiver 1 is the landlord, which is us. You need to specify the amount and the email address. All right? And then we have to specify the second receiver, receiver 0, the amount, okay, and the landlord amount. That's the second part of the split payment. All right? And then this whole thing is appended into a HTTP message list and formatted using a name-value pair. All right? Okay, so this screenshot is what's happening just before the approval process. So you can see the sender will see 2 email addresses, which represents each of the receiver and their respective amounts. So in this example, you have 0.5 pounds going into Rentlord as commissioned, and 49.5 pounds going into the landlord. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about social commerce today on a slightly higher level way. Because one of the things that we did was to look for some ideas from the way that social commerce has been implemented. as you know, it's mainly in the form of social shopping and social marketing. That's basically the way that social commerce is. I mean, when you say social commerce, you probably think of a like button somewhere, some kind of a favorites, a social favorites or favoriting, kind of a list, and that just gets pushed out along the social network. I'm going to look at 4 examples today and just talk very briefly about these. The first thing I'd like to point out is our observation that the social and commerce platforms are mainly divided. And I think that's one of the main problems that we are sort of approaching social commerce. On the social side, we've got the friends graph, you've got a social graph, just shopping, that's recommending, and that's marketing. On the commerce side, there's the market and there's the payments. So on the payments side, we would worry about the payments platform like PayPal, and nowhere is this sort of clearer than in Facebook Marketplace, where which is in fact powered by Oodle. There are 2 companies there really sort of collaborating, one providing the social, one providing the marketplace itself. The first thing that we found when we looked at the way that real estate industry has been putting itself on the social web is Facebook pages. It's a great opportunity for brand dispersion. It's great to market yourself. It's truly democratic, and anyone can set one up. There's a great possibility for liking, for pushing this idea out, pushing out your brand. Normally, it's teamed up with Twitter, and if in the form of a blogging or a microblogging model, this is how it is that today social commerce is being thought of and engineered and recommended and talked about. There is, however, no payments gateway. There isn't really a possibility to install one unless it forwards up to your blog. And that's, again, another step that you need to take. Okay. And here is an example of one such page. So as you see, there are many means on Facebook to engage with your customers. You can have photos, discussions, reviews, and so on and so forth. The next thing is the marketplace. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because we're probably all in e-commerce. And like I said, it really proves that the idea that the commerce platform is separated from the social graph. In Rentlord, we tried to overcome this because we engineered it such that the social is the commerce platform. It is a distributory platform. It distributes and delivers to you your future buyers. So that's what we've been innovating here on Rentlord. On the marketplace, it's the chief problem is that of relevance, and there is non-integration with the social graph at least right now on the Facebook Marketplace. I'm sure it could be corrected. But I think one main problem on renting stuff versus renting property is that property spaces are quite easily commoditizable on a marketplace platform. A space is a space. Normally, you differentiate the space with either photographs or user reviews or location. But in the arena of renting stuff, for example, say in Rentalic, which is a great app, it gets more diverse, more fragmented. So yet again, this is one other discovery that we found in implementing social commerce platforms in general. By integrating the social and the commerce platforms, it probably works best if you can commoditize, or the items or the industry that you're in, the market that you're in, is an easily commoditizable kind of industry. For example, Ping. In media, there's a wonderful distributory platform. You can probably sort it out and cut it up into genres. And through genres, through a social recommendation system, you can quite easily, channel or forward in Ping, provide social proof, and you can even, socially suggest and suggest algorithmically, the future, a future item or future rent. So I think that in Ping, there really is this idea of chaining up rents, but I think that mainly in chaining, in auto-suggesting, again, it works best in a peer-to-peer scarcity-based kind of a model. Because when there is scarcity in an economic ecosystem, like a closed ecosystem such as the Apple Store, although in electronic goods there isn't a scarcity as such, but in real-life goods or stuff or property, there would be scarcity, especially in the peer-to-peer social network. This is probably the way that social commerce could be heading. And then there's Groupon, a great business model, collaborative buying. We see it as a kind of a reverse selling, because really the business model here is geared towards selling to the merchant. Groupon is an intermediary business, and really the promise of the social model here helps the Groupon's business or Groupon clone type businesses to sell upwards towards the merchants. So that's probably why it's so attractive as a model to start up. It's so easy, transmittable, so easily planted or seeded in any city. And there's a great incentive in Groupon for social, for going social, because if you desire the commodity, you probably want to push it out to your friends and get them to desire it too. It's a great way, really. It's a great form of commerce, possibly not social commerce as such, but it is social. And in some way, the element of the social is worked into the business model itself. So, in conclusion, I'd like to present 5 points, which I think would form the main thrust of this social commerce of the future. It is a commodity-based social network. We are quite used to thinking of social networks as a network of people socializing, marketing, shopping, and collaboratively buying. But what if the network sits on board and online with the commodities, with the items themselves? This becomes highly relevant in rent-based, scarcity-based kind of models, because then you can chain up the market and you can chain up the buying platform. It works best in something like an eBay, for example, an eBay for rents if it's social, or something rent-based. Scarcity within the ecosystem, and social being trust. So possibly the idea of mapping the social graph to create trust. For example, one of the main problems right now in real estate, in non-estate agent real estate solutions like classified ads, is that of fraud. With the social graph, we could conceivably, link in other social graphs that you belong to, Facebook, even eBay feedback systems, and this establishes your real-life, real-world identity. Because what renting, and when it comes to peer-to-peer, buying and selling, or even renting or property, what renting is a real-life problem that you need to solve. And identity is a real-life issue that needs to be worked around. So the real-life persona behind the product has got to be, easily sort of fixed and determined. It could be also the end of search as such, precisely because the social graph would be able to recommend or push ahead and string together, future items and future commodities for you. And this opens up the possibility of a cyclical buying kind of a process. That's the end of my presentation. We'd like to open the floor up to questions, and hopefully we can begin some kind of a dialogue on social commerce in general. Any questions about Rentlord? Yes, please.
Well, I was actually a landlord for about 10 years, and we had kind of a range of tenants, a bigger tenants were like Sherwin-Williams, Sam Johnson, the Johnson Rice Company, and they typically didn't pay with this kind of system. They typically paid us with a check or something along those lines. But we had a lot of, oh, sorry, thanks. Is that working? Hello? Yeah, there we go. We had small mom and pop incubator businesses that would start up in about maybe 900 square foot little widget little spaces,
And they would often ask us if we would take credit cards. And we did that for a while, but one of the things that we found as a bit of a problem was that the merchant charges for using the old conventional credit cards was pretty high.
Yeah.
And I guess the question is the efficiency of doing this design such that it can keep the transaction cost pretty low? Because the original Visa model was designed for $5.99, and they charged you 1% or 2% or whatever the percentage was. But if you're paying $900 or $1,000 of rent and you're charging a 2% fee on top of that, or 10% or whatever the percentage was for the merchant account, that gets to be kind of high. And so I'm just curious how that's addressed in this new model.
It's quite right. I think that one of the barriers is that of the charge, of the payment charge. Now, PayPal doesn't take a charge, as you know, at the moment of buying. It takes the charge at the moment of withdrawal. So of course, what PayPal tries to do is to keep all the money within PayPal, which is great if it's digital goods and so forth. Not so great for real estate because landlords normally have a mortgage to pay. So landlords themselves have a fixed charge. Where landlords, however, get hit, however, in management, I think you get a 5% fee if you get it professionally managed. So if we keep it below the 5%, at least it gives this Rentlord model of a peer-to-peer renting kind of a thing some kind of a chance. The upside of it, however, is that we have found, this is us. This isn't as a model, but this is us. We have found pretty low-cost payment providers, so we could ourselves offer a good rate to landlords and tenants. But I think that if we use PayPal, we will have to play by the PayPal rules. It's great for us as businesses, maybe not so great for the merchants themselves, for the landlords in this case.
So I think the way you're saying you solved the problem is that. Oh, sorry. I think the way that you say you've solved the problem is that you're having the merchant providers, the Wells Fargo's or whoever the network is, you're having those guys compete to provide for the PayPal the best rate, which in turn gets passed on to the benefit of the landlord customer.
Well, in our case, it's quite simple actually. Rather it's just a cheaper payments gateway. Exactly. Through not just a debit card or credit card transactions, but in fact through direct debits, direct credits. We could actually electronically take in the rents and push it out. This isn't PayPal, so we will lose out. Because the one wonderful thing about PayPal is that so many people are on it, so many young people are on it. So PayPal is just a really great platform to get and capture the market share. It's great for tenants. It would be great for landlords because it's so easy to manage. But I get what you say. This is a real world problem. Our users, our landlords have real-world fixed costs that they themselves have to meet. So that's what it is. One other idea that we have, or that you could have, is that you could bundle in services, additional services. So, for example, if you get your rent managed on Rentlord, you could buy insurance, or home insurance, or items for the household at a group rate, a Rentlord group rate. So it's sort of that's also a win for you. Any other questions?
Hello?
Hi.
Does a tenant needs a PayPal account to pay the rent?
Not anymore. When adaptive payments first released, you needed a PayPal to PayPal payment. But not anymore. The tenant can just pay by debit or credit card.
Thank you.
You could also set up prepayments, of course. You could run all kinds of things through the adaptive system. If you've got any questions about adaptive, we could address them here too. Any questions in e-commerce or social? Hi, gentlemen.
What is the, interest and uptake in London on this? Because I'm familiar with the rental thing there, and it's the most bizarre place on earth to rent. So is it starting to get, good interest there?
Well, I'm just curious why do you say it's bizarre, in fact?
First place I've ever been offered a week-to-week, 1-year lease.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very
It's so
strange
scarce.
that way. Yeah.
And it's very much true for European cities. You know, they're so dense, they're so scarce. I mean, there is a lot of interest in this. It's been easy, and PayPal really makes it easy for us also to set up partnerships to distribute, to launch this product, because the partners know that it's secure. You know, you can trust PayPal. All the security is built in. It's just a great partner. It's a great platform to use. So yes, there is good interest. There's also a great need, you know, in the UK or in such cities. It could be dense cities, it could be New York, to split an apartment. You could rent it out day by day. There's a tourism kind of industry, you know, hence a week-by-week kind of rental. There's short-term rents, 3-month rents, 2-month rents, 5-day rents. You rent out your sofa, you rent out, you know, your apartment. You know, you can yourself be a tenant, and you can yourself be a sub-landlord, and you can manage your portfolio as such. You could go into business if you're a student, if you're not a student. And that's the idea here, to democratize the whole thing, to commoditize space. Hope that answers the question.
It's a social side of question.
Okay.
How do you deal with like verification of landlords and users and things like that?
Verification. We're going to set up a multi-tier verification process. You know, first thing, you know, verify the email. Second thing, probably use AVS or some other form of, you know, PayPal-related. You know, they have this security platform as well. But third of all, to post out a ID, some kind of a password. You know, so you say verify me, you post out a password to you, you get verified. Now, what all this does, of course, you have to, you know, realize is that it keeps you safe. But, you know, we would still say, you know, you got to be careful. You can check the social graph. You can check the references. You can check credit references. You can check the level of verification that this user has himself gone through. But please still be careful. So hopefully this does address the problems that users renting through Craigslist, Gumtree, classified ad solutions are currently experiencing. Contracting is done online. Referencing is done online as well. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you very much for attending.